fuck you. Oh, fuck you, fuck you. Fuck you, fuck you. Fuck, 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 fuck you, fuck you.
What's going on, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Tunji's podcast. I am your host, Tunji Taylor Lewis. Hope y'all are having an amazing day today. Hope y'all are staying blessed. Hope y'all are thriving and living your lives to the fullest. I speak that upon you. All right. So today I'm just gonna talk a little bit about being the black voice in the room. This is coming up because today I had a little experience like at work. Nothing overly negative, but you know how like they always say executives in the entertainment industry will oftentimes like miss things that are racially insensitive, or they'll miss things that might not be the most that might not be the greatest thing to do as far as being sensitive towards a diversity of people. And that's why it's important to have people of color. It's important to have men and women in a room so that all those voices are heard. And that's true. That is very important. However, I will say that being the only black person or being the black voice in a room, it's exhausting. I've had that experience from time to time. Especially growing up in Vancouver, where I'm one of few, or the only black person in a given situation, and being in a position where you feel like you have to explain. There goes my air vent again, right in the middle of the recording. Oh well, we're gonna keep it rolling. But being the only black person, or being one of few black people or person of color in a room who has to explain certain things to people, that gets really, really exhausting, because it's sensitive stuff at the end of the day. It's stuff that you think about. It's stuff that in my case I'm very much affected by. It's a source of a myriad of different emotions, whether it's anger or frustration or sadness. Sadness is probably the key thing, with all the injustice that we have to go through in our world. And when you're talking to people who let's call it what it is, they got that white privilege. Part of having white privilege is just not knowing, and just not being aware. But at the same time, it is exhausting to have to find the words or find a way to explain it to people so that they can understand someone's perspective. And in this case that I was talking about, it wasn't even me. It was it was someone else who I was trying to defend, because I immediately understood their point of view. I'll try not to get into the specifics of it, but anyways, even with that, sometimes you kind of just wish that, man, I wish that y'all would, number one, I wish that y'all would just get it. But obviously I can't expect everybody to just understand what it means to be a minority, walking around in Canada, the United States. But also at the same time, I just wish that white people in general would just be more willing to listen. When a minority is expressing their point of view, or making a correction, or saying something that's inconvenient for you at the time, instead of pushing back and trying to say all the reasons why you think this is okay, I just kind of wish that there was more of a willingness to listen. And because I'm experienced in communications, whether it be digitally or on stage or with my communications degree, I guess I have the ability and the skill to have, I guess, empathy for to have empathy for somebody, and then fill in the areas where they're not understanding my perspective or a minority's perspective. However, with all of that being said, I kind of just wish that I didn't have to be that guy, and like, there was just room. The reason why it's so exhausting is because it feels like it's a fight. It feels like it's a debate show almost, as opposed to being listened to and being heard. And I feel like that's just the best thing we can do for each other as human beings, when we're talking to each other and somebody says something that doesn't exactly match up with how you feel like the world is. I feel like the best thing we can do for situations that we don't understand is to just back away and just listen. Yeah, man. Because, I've certainly had to, do some listening when it comes to, like, the struggles of being a woman, or the struggles of being a gay person. And but a lot of times I won't go as far as to say that I don't know anybody who will just sit back and listen to my point of view, because that would just be straight up untrue. Like, I do have some good friends good white friends who I feel very, very comfortable with expressing my point of view, so that's not true. But at the times when, people are like, fighting me on, what my experience is, or fighting minorities on what their experience is, and I have to be somebody who can be a voice of reason and explain things in a way that they can understand, that's exhausting. It's exhausting. It's tiring. It doesn't feel good. It doesn't feel good to not be understood, and it doesn't feel good to have that reminder that you're to have that reminder that you're the only one, and that these people can only relate to you but so much. What's going on? I saw in Palmer 01. What's going on? It's underscore Ciroc underscore boys. What's going on? I'm good. Thanks for asking. Yeah, man. That's really my whole point, and I kind of got 3.5 minutes to go on the podcast, so I'll find out how to fill up the time. But it's exhausting. It's hard to explain. It's hard to explain the nuances of our experience. It's hard to explain how a seemingly harmless comment actually has racial implications. Like, there's so many like little nuances of the minority experience that manifests itself when we're communicating with primarily white people, or people who aren't of our race. And you don't want to have to explain it every time. And the worst part is when the person that you're explaining to like has an attitude, and or they start defending themselves saying they're not racist, and it's just like, I didn't accuse you of being racist. I'm just saying this is why X, Y, and Z in this isolated situation. I didn't accuse you of being I didn't accuse you of being anything other than someone who said what you just said, and it wasn't overtly offensive. It was just, this is why you need to be careful about it from here on out. Or the other person gets an attitude when you call them out. That's one thing that I come up against a lot is I'm somebody who, like, if I feel like there's something important that I need to say to somebody, I'm going to say it to them. I'm not going to talk behind their back. I'm not gonna hold it in for too long. I'm going to in a very measured, in a very calm, and in a very fair way explain my point of view to them. And I feel like a lot of the people that I'm around are so used to being passive aggressive, and are so used to people not being real with them, that when they come across a person like me who's going to be real and is going to give them that courtesy to be real with them, they take offense to it immediately. And rather than taking responsibility, they'll try to like turn around to make it seem like it's your fault, or they'll fold their arms, or in a white person's case, they'll get their face all red and just like catch an attitude and stop talking to you or yell at you or whatever. And yeah, man, it's just it's tiring, bro. It is tiring. And that's why I definitely, definitely long for a situation where, number one, I'm not the only black person in the room, where I can be around a bunch of people who have the same experience that I do, and I can talk to them and say certain things, and I don't have to explain the nuances of it. That's something that I desire. And I also desire to be around a group of people who, you know, just want to be the best versions of themselves, and want to take accountability, and, you know, want to be responsible for their actions, and aren't, you know, just you know, interacting with people just to make everybody like them, or you know, I don't know why people don't take responsibility for, you know, how they interact with people. But anyways, y'all, so, you know, if any of y'all are out there in LA or New York, hey man, you know, hit me up, because I'm looking at y'all. I'm looking at your cities. Y'all got way more black people out there than out here in Vancouver, man. It's getting exhausting being out here, bro. It's getting exhausting being out here. How many people I got? Oh, I got some people in the live. What's going on? What's going on? Yeah, boy, 003, King Diesel. What's going on? I'm gonna end that there, but yeah, y'all. That's my little, you know, rant. I guess that's not really a rant. That's just, you know, just talking about what it's like sometimes. So, peace.